There is a story that I know. It's about the Earth and how it floats in space on the back of a turtle. I've heard this story many times, and each time someone tells the story, it changes. Sometimes the change is simply the voice of the storyteller. Sometimes the change is in the details. But in all the tellings of all the tellers, the world never leaves the turtle's back, and the turtle never swims away. One time, a young girl in the audience asked about the turtle and the earth. She asked, if the earth was on the back of a turtle, what was below the turtle? Another turtle, the storyteller told her. And below that turtle, another turtle. And below that, why, another turtle. The girl began to laugh, enjoying the game, I imagine. So, how many turtles are there? The storyteller shrugged. No one knows for sure, but it's turtles all the way down. The truth about stories is that is all you are. I'm quoting this last bit from a book by Thomas King called The Truth About Stories. And I use this as a jumping off point for a sermon I delivered about 2 years ago entitled Plot Twist. If I'm being honest, it was an excellent sermon. Magnificent even. And if you've missed it, you are invited to catch that on our YouTube channel. But today I'm reminded of the turtles and the many stories we tell about our world and how different they are today than they were this time 2 years ago. For example, Americans today are not arguing about climate change, election results, healthcare, poverty, war, inequality, accountability, or how to effectively lead the country. I'm just kidding. We're totally still arguing about all of that, because apparently these are our stories, and some stories seem almost impossible to change, especially if you're looking at national politics. I would love it if we were able to talk about bold proposals for positive, constructive change. I would love it if we would tackle climate change, our obsession with militarism, nationalism, fascism. To be honest, my to-do list is rather long. So let me suggest that while we are making progress on some of these issues, and I don't want to make light of any of that work, let's be honest for a moment and say that our work is at best only a beginning. But putting aside national politics for the moment, I want to suggest that if change is difficult for politicians, it's not weird that it's also difficult for you. So this morning, I want to talk about you and your stories. I'll start with me, though, because when I was a wee lad, a youth, a child, really, and by that, I mean 10 years ago, I had some decisions to make. I was given a glimpse, an epiphany, if you will, a look around. I saw the 10 years that had led me to that point. I saw the 10 years that led away from that point. And I knew beyond a doubt that my future was going to look exactly like my past. And that would have been just fine, except for one thing. I was miserable. And unless I did something, I knew I needed to do something drastic, even something drastic. If I didn't do something, I was going to stay that way. As you may have guessed, my story so far, at least, does include a rather profound plot twist. not saying that yours has to, or that if it does, it must include a trip to seminary, but you could do worse. Around the time I changed my life, I heard Arthur Brooks give a talk at the Chautauqua Institute. Anybody heard of Arthur Brooks? Know that name? That talk has been since expanded and is now a New York Times bestseller, titled From Strength to Strength, Finding Success, Happiness, and Deep Purpose in the Second Half of Life. As titles go, that one's pretty good, right? It's a winner. Way better than the original title of my proposed book, Suck It Up, Buttercup, It's All Downhill From Here. So here's my extremely brief summary of Brooks's best-selling book. Changing your life is almost comically difficult. Almost comically difficult. But doing it anyway may be the only way to build happiness across the arc of your life. The problem is that while jobs and careers and expectations don't really change all that much, you do. Society, your managers, your own stories, you tell yourself, we tell ourselves, you tell yourself that it is good to be smart, to be clever, to be insightful, to be innovative, to be hardworking, to be a change maker. And when you are young, you are. You are filled with ideas and passions and fire. And here's the problem. As you age, your capacities decline. That decline comes to everyone, and it comes way sooner than you realize. Human beings hit their creative peak before the age of 50. Yes, it's true, and yes, it's sad. The data here is very clear, but here's the kicker. The longer you avoid that truth, the unhappier you will become. Aren't you glad you came this morning? Happy New Year. Whee! The book is a bestseller for a reason, right? So it doesn't just stop there. Professor Brooks argues that this sad fact of human biology is also an opportunity for those of you bold enough to seize it. And that is why my New Year's message this year, and actually most years, is that you should assume that your life has a part two. The key, Brooks says, is recognizing that what we think of as human intelligence is actually not one thing. There is another kind of intelligence, an entirely different kind, an intelligence that synthesizes, brings together, interprets, and expands on the stuff generated by that first kind of intelligence. That second type, that type of intelligence, does not decline early, if it declines at all. Here's the fun part. You already know what kind of intelligence I'm talking about, though you probably have a different word for it. You probably call it wisdom. According to science, wisdom is the key to your part two. Early or late, at some point in your life, you should pivot toward wisdom. I'm reminded of the philosopher Aristotle, who used to say that you should not bother to study philosophy. Philosophy, it's a Greek word that means love of wisdom. You should not bother before you are 50 years old. Aristotle felt that life was a classroom that you had to spend some time in before you could possibly have anything interesting to say about it. This is certainly a provocative perspective. But for those of you that have yet to hit this particularly glorious milestone, well, your future life as a philosopher awaits. But the fact is, each of you, right now and into the future, each of you is a library of earned knowledge, of experience. And that is exactly where enjoyment and purpose and satisfaction meet to create lasting happiness. And if you are blessed enough to live a life, if you have received the gifts of life's experiences, if your witness to life and nature has left you with more than a single gray hair, if you are lucky enough to grow old, then at some point, you should start doing more of the things that let you use this deep well that you have earned. And yes, I am talking to you, even you who may feel quite a bit short of wise. Even you who screwed things up profoundly, maybe especially you, because, it's possible that the meaning of life is to serve as a warning to others. I'm kidding. But the science says that at some point, happiness depends on the shift from the grind of production to the opportunity that is reflection. And that's how I'm going to put it. At some point in your professional or post-professional life, you need to zoom out. Find what it is that is bigger than you. Appreciate what came before you and imagine what may yet lie ahead. Listen, ponder, ruminate. See your story reflected in the challenges that are being lifted by others, and understand that it is your wisdom born out of a life, born out of the stories that only you can tell, born out of the stories that link perspiration to aspiration through inspiration, for all and any who dare to hear. That is what can transform yourself and transform your world for the rest of your life. Because the truth about stories is that's all you are. Happy New Year.
Visit us at uusg.org.